The Great Boston Fire of 1872. It was a massive disaster, and it changed the face of the city and reshaped fire safety standards all across the United States. The fire broke out on the night of Saturday, November 9th, in a dry goods store on Summer Street, at the heart of Boston's bustling commercial district. A combination of outdated infrastructure, flammable materials, and low water pressure turned it into one of Boston's most destructive events. In the early 1870s, Boston was a thriving industrial hub, with narrow streets lined with tightly packed wooden and brick buildings. These structures often held highly flammable items like textiles, paper, and chemicals, creating a fire hazard in the dense downtown area. Adding to the risk, the city had recently gone through a dry spell, and its firefighting equipment was old and unreliable. Boston's fire department was also in transition, moving from a volunteer force to a professional force. This shift left the department underfunded and short on training and equipment, which became painfully clear when the fire broke out. Strong winds from the Boston harbor spread the flames quickly, and low water pressure from the hydrants slowed down the firefighters' response. Within hours, the fire had consumed entire blocks, burning through 776 buildings in downtown Boston. The flames spread from Summer Street through the financial district, along the waterfront, and into Southie. It took down warehouses, insurance offices, shops, and several well-known buildings. Firefighters battled the flame for more than 12 hours, finally gaining control as winds died down and cooler temperatures set in near State Street. But by the time the fire was extinguished, the destruction covered much of downtown. The damage was estimated at around $73 million at the time. That's around $1.7 billion today. And although 13 lives were lost, the fire left over 30,000 people jobless, and countless businesses and factories were completely destroyed. In the wake of the fire, Boston faced a huge cleanup and rebuilding effort. Entire blocks of burnt-out buildings had to be cleared, and many insurance companies went bankrupt from the flood claims. It was clear that Boston's fire safety systems needed major improvements. The city quickly updated its building codes, mandating fire-resistant materials and widening the streets. This helped create natural fire breaks. Fire hydrants were upgraded to provide better water pressure, and the fire department received funding for modern equipment. Iron shutters became required on commercial buildings to slow the spread of flames. But the Great Boston Fire wasn't just a wake-up call for Boston. It highlighted the fire risks for fast-growing cities across the United States. Coming just a year after the Great Chicago Fire, it showed how vulnerable industrial cities were to fire. Boston's improvements in building practices, firefighting resources, and city planning became a model for fire safety nationwide. While the Great Boston Fire may not be as widely remembered today as some other historical fires, its impact on city planning, construction, and fire safety endures. Boston's quick recovery and safety reforms showed resilience and foresight, shaping the city's identity and paving the way for safer and more robust infrastructure. We have to remember, though, this fire wasn't just a disaster. It was a turning point that set Boston on a path towards modernization and safety. These are Interesting Things with JC.